I'm extremely sorry that you have listened to me after a good lunch. I think, hopefully, I'll try to do this. But do give me feedback in case you think something should have been added.
And I am Tanay Balasubramanian. Welcome to the sixth edition of the Business Excellence Summit at the Xavier Institute of Management, Exam University, Bhubaneswar. Today, we are honored to welcome a lineup of inspiring leaders and business stalwarts that have made their mark on the management world. This year, we are raising the bar with the theme Redefining Possibilities. As the business landscape undergoes rapid transformation, we believe that now is the time to challenge conventions and explore new horizons. For this session, our panel members are Mr. Subhankar Pattanayak, the Director, Head of BIT, the Director of Technology Modernization at Grand Thornton Indus, and Mr. Amit Talgeri, the Chief Risk Officer at Axis Bank. Today's program will start with an individual talk by each of our speakers. We will then move on to a panel discussion and Q&A, moderated by Professor Hassan Kasu. Following this, we will allow additional questions from the audience. Now that the structure is set, let's start the session by introducing the first speaker. It is my distinct honor and an inspiration to many. Mr. Subhankar Pattanayak from the Exile batch of 2003. Mr. Pattayak's journey began with a strong foundation of technical expertise. At Exile, he refined the managerial skills that would elevate his corporate career, gaining a strategic mindset and leadership capabilities essential for business success. Starting as a system analyst at Information, he made notable contributions managed complex projects during his year-long tenure. Currently, Mr. Pattanayak serves as the Director, Head of Mid Management at SAP, where he has been a driving force for over 17 years. His leadership has been instrumental in securing key contracts and advancing SAP's growth. His Join me in welcoming Mr.Subhankar Pattanayak.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee and the people who actually exemplify the hospitality that has been given to me is nothing less than exemplary. It's awesome. Thank you guys. You've done a wonderful job, and thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor. It was nice knowing you, and hopefully we can interact more. And just the start was good to beginning. And my topic will be mostly in the technology space. What I see is you guys are at a similar situation where when to what we were. Yeah, the hype had come down, the dot-com bust had happened. We were actually going into the how do we find the value of the internet? That was the phase which we were getting into. Similar thing. Now the internet has been replaced by what? AI, obviously. Now 2002 it got released, 1 year has passed. A lot of development has happened. People are still scratching their head. Okay, how do we bring value? But what I will do is I'll share my own thoughts, my own learning in the past 20 years and how we can apply it in the next 20 years. Because I see the similar wave happening again. So, to start with, just a for your previous sort of a thing, the first major event which happened in this hall was our convocation. I was sitting somewhere at the back, hiding myself. Another 20 years, India will be this place. There will be so much of technology advancement. A lot of things was happening. And here I was sitting at the back thinking how that the placement was not that good. I was just thinking, what the hell they are talking? Here I don't have anything. And they're talking about India will be a good place, it will have so much of things. And how wrong I was. Now, 20 years back, nothing short of a fairy tale. Now, if somebody would have come on that day, 20 years ago, and told me that, okay, Subhankar, after 20 years, you will be in this position, I would definitely ask him, boss, what are you smoking? Okay. Because they tell this about the examples, maybe worst of times, but look at it, things changed. How did it change? This alphabet X meant something for me. Okay, 20 years ago. Now alphabet X is the largest aggregator of news articles. Okay. Now the alphabet X is one of the leading frontier AI model. That content, communication, and community. So these are some of the things which has happened. We passed out in 2003. There was no Twitter. There was no Facebook. Amazon was only selling books. Now look at the world. It's totally a different. has evolved. iPhone came in 2007. And look at the way it changed. He mentioned way back in 2001, look, everything will be in cloud. That time, being a metallurgy engineer sitting in a computer class, I was thinking, okay, what is cloud? Now, here we are, just think about it. Everything is in a cloud. And look how the technology has changed. Now, I started SAP, we actually was part, I now look at the innovation that has happened on the cloud solution. Look at the innovation that is happening on the AI solutions. So I tell you okay, how things are changing and how to adapt for it. The last 20 years, I've done multiple roles. I've sold software, I've done pre-sales, I've done social media marketing, I've done analytics, I've done development. So the thing is, we have to ride that wave. That will not happen. But definitely you will be replaced by people who know AI. So rather than be prepared. Now, you know about the 5 stages of AI, the open AI, anybody who can raise your hand, 5 stages of AGI. So what is AGI? AGI is the next version of artificial general intelligence where we are going to the next level. Now, this OpenAI has come with 5 stages. The first one is the regular chatbot, that is the chat GPT that we are coming, going. Which actually OpenAI released last week. Do you follow news? It is called Chat Zero I. It is changing the entire game. Now it is a PhD level person who can. The chatbot has capability like a PhD person. So you put something, it will take its own swing time of 15-20 seconds. It will do its own search. It will have its own chain of thought prompting techniques, and it will get quality answers. So we are in 2025, and we are talking about these agents can now become employees. So there are actually, if you follow news, companies who are now making agents which can sell it to the other companies and they can employ it as an agent. So that's how the nature of job is changing. What is the fourth one? Fourth one is those agents now start innovating. So now own processes. And the fifth stage is the matrix stage where they the AI controls the organization. So we are in stage two. Great thing happened this week where it will lead us to the agentic AI. So you are at a very good position where a lot of things are happening. So what does it mean to you? So you will be thinking, why the hell is he talking about all these things? So it also talks about the leadership quality that you should be having. So third industrialization stage, what it had a lot of people, the managers was the one who had a lot of strength because a lot of manual work was getting done and the heavily built person was said, okay, he will be the Sardar of the group. Now, when the gig economy came, the internet economy, okay, who will be the Sardar of the group? The person with lot of mind.
Okay, because you have a lot of information, everybody has the information, the one who had all the information is the Sardar of the group. Okay, now that was our 20 years, where we had the best person who had the sharpest of minds becoming the leader. Now for the next, who will be the Sardar of the group? The person with the best, the knowledge, who has the best heart. So things like empathy, things like talk, feeling about others, things like okay, caring about others, because end of the day, all the mind game will be taken. It will be totally democratized. Now you can't say that I can write a better email for you because everybody will have access to this low cost AI some way or the other. Now, who will be respected? Those leaders rabbit in Alice in Wonderland. The rabbit always, as one of those leaders said, the illiterate of a person, of a illiterate is not a person who cannot read and write. Illiterate is the person who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So anything that is working for you may not work for you in future with the change of technology. So make sure you have that open mind, have an empathetic mind, have a good heart, be humble, because you can only learn if you are humble. And so hopefully I've taken the, I don't know, I'm not giving it out of the time, but that's what I have to offer. I'm there till the evening. You can always reach out to me in case you have any questions on these topics. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Insights regarding AI and how we can prepare ourselves for the coming day. Now, it's my privilege to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Rajen Misra, an esteemed leader and distinguished ally of Exile, whose career embodies a remarkable fusion of strategic foresight. Rajen Misra has built a reputation as a forward-thinking leader, adept at navigating the complexities of modern business. Currently, as the Director of Technology Modernization at Grant Thornton Invest, Mr. Rajan oversees a team of over 90 consultants. At Grant Thornton, under his stewardship, the Technology Modernization team has achieved leadership truly distinctive is that Mr. Rajan is not just focused on delivering results, he is equally committed to the health, happiness, and growth of his team. This approach has enabled as Senior Director at AST LLC, where he expanded his team by 500% and boosted operational integration from 15% to 80% over 4 years by overseeing offshore operations and P&L. He also held key roles at Wipro and of excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to welcome to the stage a leader who truly understands the art of balancing innovation with empathy and strategy with compassion. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Rajen Misra.
Good to be here. I've been on the other side, listening to quite a few speeches, and feels good to be here. Thank you, Francis, for giving me this opportunity. will talk a little bit about, obviously my core competency is on the tech side. Of which time we've been in multiple tech companies at the entire gamut of the tech roles. I'll ask one question. How many of you have, so obviously these things have come naturally to you, right? No one needed to train you. You just picked up and you got it. That's how I think is changing. 20 years ago when we started, it was at a nascent stage. Even in the organization hierarchy, there was in the C level, you have the marketing have a CIO. The main project, the main roadmap was being done by the others. IT manager was at max level. With passing of time, the tech has entered everywhere else. Right? Right now, you will not find a company which says, okay, we are not having an ERP, our finances are in Excel, or we are having those thick ledger books. Right? Everything goes into ERP. When you buy a new smart car, the amount of money you're paying for the tech part of it is more than what you're paying for the car. Right? So some of your car manufacturers are saying that okay, they also sell cars, the major part is on the tech side. Everything is moving towards that side of being more on the tech side. Or if you want to give a great insight about how AI is going to change, and I'm just talking about more about how the AI has done. We are really hearing when the CIOs are moving to the CTO role. The project decision is primarily happening from the IT side. IT is no longer secondary thought that what will happen next, but the primary. But we were on the every company has actually IT team. You will struggle to find a single large company which does not have at least 10% of its workforce to be doing something or the other on the tech side. As things are moving slowly to cloud and slowly more on AI, that will further more increase. It's two on your own. What stops you from picking up an ERP on your own? It's the same thing. So what is it you are bringing onto the table? In 10 minutes time, I can train you on any named ERP. What do you need 2 years from that? What is the core competency you are going to fix here and now? Of every subject. There is the ability to see the big picture. Tech is not about building stuff. AI will soon do it. Right now, also, 30% of our code is being developed by the systems. Taking understanding what I'm doing, why I'm doing. Right? What is the process? What is the process? Last thing, please explain me what a balance sheet is. All right. So that's the first part of it. Understand every business process so that you can take it forward. Second part, placement business. I have an interesting placement story. After the placement was going down, so I was thinking happily in my room. Obviously, I was there in the room for the interview. Interview lasted from midnight till close to 1 a.m. I got a job. That's the second skill set you are building. You are almost ready. Right? Few minutes is what you should need. Your core competency is the ability to have the interaction. When I went to the hostel visit the morning, I saw a stack of business standards. I know I hated it really when that was told that you have to be aware of the latest news, but you have to be aware of that. It would have been nice if when you start speaking about the next one on OpenAI, you should have told, okay, what in future of when you are using on the future of tech, what you will be joining company with a hybrid model. It should be that the people come to office 2 days in a week. In some cases, not even that much. My team comes to office 2 days in a month. So how do you think that you will be building up a rapport with your mentor and your coach?
What is it? And you have to understand the cycle. Okay. You can see a few pictures on back from the starting to those on. So I'll ask a few more questions. Okay, let's see. So what was so unique about 2020 and how has the IT world changed between 2020? Everyone knows, right? So how did the tech world change after that? Yeah, remote working. Travel reduced. Earlier tech meant you spend your life in a suitcase, 6 months you spend outside. Now the travel reduced a lot. A lot of things went virtual, online meetings. It's quite likely that you'll have more and more online meetings. Just like no one taught you how to use WhatsApp, no one will teach you how to use Microsoft Teams. Self-understanding. So what is that you have to do differently when you're having an online interview versus a face-to-face? Just stand up and tell. Perfectly fine. Go ahead.
And if we are looking at the street, then it is like if we are looking somewhere. So that is the opportunity.
Two of the three qualities research by taking interviews you mentioned. First, you have to interact. If you don't speak, it doesn't work out. If you're maintaining an awkward silence, it doesn't work out. Right? In a face-to-face interview, I can read your body language. In a video call, I'm only seeing half of your body. So I can't read much of your body language. So you have to interact. If you keep silent, it doesn't work out. Second, speak your name as many times as you can. As you rightly started with your own interaction, say your name multiple times. Because in a face-to-face interview, I am sitting in front of you, I have a paper pen, I write it down. In a video interview, after I finish the interview, I may have a second one. At the end of the day, I may write down the feedback for all four candidates. So if it's told in a couple of times to me, it's very highly likely that that will be at the top of my mind record. This interaction. So how do you build your own personal brand? Step one.
So I'm Manish of XIMB MBA batch of 24-26. When we were working on a hybrid model, we basically we created our own brand by being the reliable one. So if we got any work, if we delivered it on time without any errors, that is how we created our brand in the company.
Very good. But that will take you 1 year. Delivery, it takes time, right? And definitely build my brand in a year by doing reliable, consistent delivery. Absolutely right. How can I fast track it a little further?
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Rohan Pattanayak from XIMB BM batch of 24-26. I think reaching out to the seniors or to the mentors proactively and asking questions, interacting more about what the problem is and what are the deliverables is something that can show that you are a keen learner or a person who is oriented towards the target, and that's how you can build your brand.
Now, obviously, there is no right or wrong solution. Depending on the situation you are, it will matter. But if you remain silent, you will not never build your brand. There is no wrong answer to it. Volunteer. Whenever you get an opportunity, whenever the leads ask you, there is a lot of time they will say, okay, this is an activity needed to be done. There will be silence. The expectation is that you volunteer. You have to speak up. If you remain silent in this new era where things are moving very fast, it will take longer time. You will eventually do it. There's no doubt about it. Everyone from XME does well. The training is awesome. What are the weekend I asked to make this presentation? We made nice black screens with orange fonts, with colorful. It was a fantastic combination. You're like wondering, why? What's wrong with it? Good to do. But later we okay, in corporate world you never use a black slide. Always use a white because many people print the slides. black one doesn't, which doesn't sort of ink and doesn't look that good after you fill it out. So the faculty teaches you what you need to learn. That at that particular time you may not have realized it. You go to corporate world, you learn your own. Making your PowerPoint decks, having a basic understanding of how the ERPs work, whether it's HRIS, whether it is finance ERP, understanding of basic of accounting. But most important thing is they ask you to come now and present. Right? Every subject has what I already explained to you. AI will be taking up some of our activities and say that you will lead from your heart and person. Right? When I was on the sales side for 10 years, delivery side for 10 years, you sales by understand the customer's pain point. How do you understand that? By having a conversation with them. If you sit silently for 30 minutes in front of them, probably after 5 minutes you'll order tea coffee, after another 10 minutes you'll get an urgent meeting and walk off. So you have to maintain a conversation. How do you maintain the conversation? One being aware, where this is the client I'm going, you're walking into the room, the family, from which company is coming. Have you checked on the business profile? What is his plan? Have you checked on the company website? Have they done something new? What is that conversation point will pick up the thought? That's important. Right? Second is having the conversation. So one of the things which we have talked is awkward silence. Human beings like to have the voice, some sound. So if you maintain silence for more than 90 seconds, the other part is awkward silence. But you do it once, you do it twice, third time you kick you out of the room. Please try to have the ability to maintain a conversation. There's sufficient number of group projects which will give you the opportunity. I'm pretty sure there's sufficient number of remote courses also. See what interests you and try to find out what are the topics. See, some topics like sports doesn't interest me, and I try to say, okay, sports is my topic of conversation, difficult for me, I'm not naturally interested. See what are topics in which you are naturally interested. It can't be politics or religion, those two are not, but able for anything else. Pick a few topics where you are naturally interested and have that conversation. Try to read about it. Put some tags. Nowadays, we have to search in the newspaper. Nowadays, we have got the speeds. You can just put tags. Okay, on these topics, please send me the free details. Be of this topic so that you can have an actual conversation. Okay. Most importantly, in the remote working scenario, as your friends say, reliability is very important. People should also trust you that you will deliver the items. There's no manual movement speed that you're spending. You're there in office from 8 to 6, you're there in office for 12 hours or 16 hours. We assign an activity and then we forget about it. Ask questions and more importantly, volunteer content. Okay. What you did for the organization practice, what you did for the organization, and what you did for your project. There are three different lines. I think in organization behavior, you have been taught some of them, right? Focusing only on your project work. Awesome. But the rest of the leadership is not aware of it. Right? In the changing world, the first mover advantage is massive. What's the new items you have got? The new items you have got is the AI part. In your resume, if you write, I am an strategic leader, I am an AI developer, which one will get picked up first? So, see what is the item in demand and what can be a differentiator for you. That's what we'll pick up. Obviously, AI is the buzzword now, but the buzzword changes every few years. Okay. At one time, I was a client server architecture. It kind anyone who knows server-based programming, COBOL faster. Then it changed, became the thing. C++, Java became the buzzword. Again, it changed. 2015, 16, cloud became the buzzword. 2024, AI is the buzzword. It will not last for more than a couple of years. Something else will come up. So that's the last item. Right? How many semesters you are having? In 3-4 months, you are picking up 7 subjects, right? You can pick up 7 subjects in 3-4 months. How much time it will take you to pick a new item? That's not going to become an expert on it. One accounting paper doesn't make you an expert like in category accounting, but it gives you enough knowledge to talk on it. Same thing over there. That's the skill you're picking up and working in. Now we have a discussion, okay, about a new tool. Just like I talked about your Canvas tool. Tomorrow when we meet, you'll have that to talk intelligently on the Canvas. Doesn't mean you'll become an expert on that tool, but you will spend a couple of hours on the internet, on the other sources, and have enough knowledge to talk intelligently on it. That's the first skill you're picking up there. Any questions, please? I have taken a little more than my usual time. and probably take some questions in that.
We sincerely appreciate your inspiring words, Mr. Rajen. It was an absolute pleasure to learn from your experiences and the wisdom. Mr. Amit Talgeri, a visionary leader whose contributions have left an indelible mark in the industry. Mr. Amit is currently the Group Chief Risk Officer of Axis Bank. He has over 29 years of experience with some of the leading banks and financial institutions in the country and overseas, and has been with Axis Bank since April 2019. In his current role, he has been responsible for strengthening the risk management framework across different areas of risk in the bank and the group. Before joining Axis Bank, he had stints with multiple local and international banks in different areas of banking, but primarily focused on ESG for Axis Bank and represents the bank in various regulatory and industry forums on ESG and risk management. Before joining Axis Bank, he had leadership roles in risk management, credit, and operations at the very first Abu Dhabi Bank, India Books Financial Services, HDFC Bank, and Bank of America. Beyond his professional achievements, Mr. Talgeri is passionate about seasonal cuisine, sports, and travel, aiming to visit 50 countries before turning 50. Known for his calm demeanor and strong communication skills, Mr. Amit Talgeri is respected as a role model in both his professional and personal life. It is a great honor and pleasure for me to invite Mr. Amit Talgeri to give us his thoughts. Please keep I just prefer I'm feeling very, very flattered and embarrassed. A big thank you to XMB for inviting me over, Professor, and most importantly, all the students for having given a very, very warm welcome. So let me just call out, first of all, us, and more importantly, having us over. So sincere appreciation. Thank you. So I will divide, my speaking time, whatever, probably 20 minutes into three parts. One is, I'm not an exam-B alumni, so I have not been on the other side. So that's something different from, my other two esteemed panelists, number one. Number two, most times you will hear business teams speak in business growth, AI and ML. Chief Risk Officer is to say that if things are going well in the bank, there are enough people to take credit for, but if things go bad, you know who's there and who neck is on the line. So that's really my role. What do I do as a Chief Risk Officer? My role is you know, 10, 12 years, but more recently in the last 5 years. So the regulator focus has been at its probably the most intense. So one of the goals that I also looked at is to see, as an organization, how do I protect ourselves, most importantly, protect depositor money. Then comes profits, then comes shareholders and investors, etc. Although I'm sure if you ask my stock market investor friends, they will look at it the other way around. is to say what's happening in my returns and how am I getting compared with our two largest competitors. So my role is types of risk in a bank, as you probably imagine. So one is credit risk, which all of you probably know. Easiest thing to do, give money out, get money back, hopefully, and on time. There is liquidity and market risk, which is typically to manage funds, ensure that at any point of time when you go to an ATM or branch, your money is safe, it's available. There is operations risk. We have about 5,000 branches in Axis Bank. We operate through about 14,000 ATMs. So there are a lot of operational issues that we handle. So there's a risk around all of that. Even the multitude of phone calls that you get on multiple elements of transactions that you do. And the last but not the least, which is really gaining a lot of traction, is really cyber risk, which is not just banking related, but is actually in a sense encompassing all of it. So that's the first part of it, and I'll talk a little bit about our bank and what we do, etc. I will try and look at some elements of what we need to do. I will also talk about maybe 4 or 5 elements which as students you probably irrespective of which careers you move into, whether it is on the marketing side, HR, operations, finance. These are skill sets I can assure you over the next will gain prominence, and most importantly will actually lead you to ensure you are updated, and it's not about being in a specialized field. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and then finally hopefully the Q&A will try and look at careers in banking and I think what's most top of your mind in terms of placement and stuff like that. So let me start with Axis Bank. They've talked enough about tech and about life in the corporate world, but from a risk which is redefining possibilities. The way we look at banking has changed dramatically. So when we talk about digital, it is a very different world of digital. It's about internet banking and mobile banking. Today, I don't remember when was the last time right? Like I said, I'm not going to talk about the business part of it, that we have, the highest mobile internet app, etc. But the risk associated with it. The number of transactions which flow through the banking system today, if I look at UPI, if I look in only our bank, and my bank typically are only about 5-6% market share. So you can imagine what's happening in the banking sector. So one of the biggest risks is no longer about the fraudster trying to, let's say, take your money between 12 midnight and 4 a.m. in the morning. They do it in broad daylight. They will not. The fraud zone that you see is translating into typically 360 transactions in a 10-second time span. Clearly, bots at work, clearly very different skill set, fraud, etc. So what we need to do is obviously have digital risk capabilities, transaction monitoring. So if I see a very unusual transaction, that's what we really do. So risk management from a digital world. What else do we do? Again, I'm trying to look at it from a careers point of view as well. Going to become very, very big. It is already big. But the way we look at analytics is very different. So let me just give you one example that we do for a living, right? We do credit cards and personal loans, which means basically if I go and based on what he can afford, I give him a loan. Right? Very basic, simple. But we bankers have this brilliant habit of complicating and overcomplicating things. So what we've done is we've built solid models which tells us propensity to pay, which tells us ability to default, in terms of how you're thinking beyond the obvious, right? So all of you are sure use, Flipkart and Snapdeal and Amazon, etc. So we, for example, have a tie-up with Flipkart. So every time you transact with Flipkart, you get a lot of data about your purchases, about whatever. So based on the kind of purchases that you do, based on the time of the day of the purchases that you do, the amount you spend and the transactions that you do, we have a model at the back end to tell us how likely are you to pay. It's got nothing to do with income, it's got nothing to do with obligations, and it's got nothing to do with the ability to pay. So this model, based on parity AI, ML in a use case scenario where we are saying we are building models based on which lending is happening. By the way, we are not the only ones. You will see this matter. So you can be rest assured that anything and everything where knowingly or unknowingly are doing I agree, you can be rest assured based on that data that somebody with the power of analytics, but the risks of analytics are equally, which is that I don't know whether data is protected, I don't know whether I've given consent for purchase of a product or selling of a credit card, etc. So that's the analytics part of it. The third element, which I feel we should be talking about, is this whole thing about ESG and climate and all of that. The reason I'm saying it again because increasingly we are seeing this coming into prominence. So it goes back again, but it is here to stay. There is no two ways about it. Climate, ESG, the way we do business, inclusiveness, diversity are going to be the cornerstone. Again, like I said, my friends here are tech experts. One of the biggest risks that we see in sustainability is resilience, the ability to last out 3 years, 5 years. So one of the things which is going to be very, very important is that whatever you are doing is not for a short period of time. It is sustainable. And not from an ESG sustainability point of view, but just resilient sustainability point of view. So in a nutshell, data, resilience because of the sustainability angle and analytics. These are three elements that I genuinely believe is going to be a game changer in terms of what the possibilities are in terms of career, etc. Then we talk about a fourth element which typically we as risk managers are exposed to, which is this whole thing about partnerships, vendors, and outsourcing. Why do I say that? Tied up with. Why is that important? Two things. One, of course, sometimes you go to a core competency, you go to a subject matter expert for a small piece, it helps you in your, constructing your large piece. But it also increases risks. It also increases your ability to, in a sense, service the same intensity as you would have done if it was your own. The last example in this, which I'll then move to cyber risk, is if you look at cyber attacks currently in the last, let's say, 5 years, and let's say 3 years from an India perspective, right? Air India, Domino's, Big Basket, Zomato, Swiggy, one of the two. Four of them, which you and I use almost probably every week, if not sometimes daily, right? They had attacks not on themselves, but partners of theirs. They had attacks not on Zomato, so it's not Axis Bank, but a partnership of Axis Bank, a partnership of Air India, a travel agent of Air India, a service provider of Domino's, a service
those risks on my partners and my vendors, it is very, very difficult for you to take ownership of your piece. One small element there can actually ruin all that you're trying to do here. While there are enough and more sophisticated systems, available in terms of, managing your perimeter, I think the most important is cloud security. There's just too many things that are happening in cloud right now. The ability to manage that data, the ability to manage, skill set around that is going to be a very, very important part. So purely from, if I go back to the theme of your sessions, redefining, possibilities and what else is happening in the world, data, analytics, the way I see it is ESG and resilience. These are four elements that I kind of years around this. So that's the topic for some other time. But these are elements which, irrespective of which industry you are in, you will genuinely see a wholesome need to ensure that you have these skill set to succeed. Let me just finish it by, like I said, I promised by saying I will give you a few skills which I feel. So one is, I will come to that part. I have a slightly different view there. But data, I think there are five things. Again, I know I talk about data very loosely, but any industry that you go today, data is going to be an extremely important element. What people are not realizing is that when the new law comes in, the most important thing for most corporates. So that's one element. My suggestion is, upgrade your skills in terms of this whole element around data. I talked about the second part, which is analytics. Irrespective of which part of analytics or which part of business you are in, HR operations, I can assure you, the ability to analyze data, the ability to make sense of data, the ability to take decisions based on data, and using analytics in a very, very big way in terms of use cases is going to be another skill in my mind, which is going to really help in a very, very big way. Third is tech. Sometimes you could probably say that I want to stay away from tech. Dropping jargon like AI every third conversation is nice, but unless you know what it is, it's very difficult to go beyond the second minute or third minute of a conversation. Basics like you don't have to be a developer, you don't have to be a tech expert, but it's very important that you get your basics right on some very elementary step around tech. You may still think that tech is not something which is my cup of tea, fair, but there has to be some element of tech, at least working knowledge there. Actually, in the last 5 years, which is what I call managing VUCA, which is VUCA, right? So typically, if you look at it, we live in a world where there is extremely high volatility, there is uncertainty, there is complexity, and there is ambiguity. Corporate life is all about this. My friend talked about the fact that in 10 minutes we are supposed to do a presentation. That is complexity. That is ambiguity. Sometimes, at least in my role, people do say that COVID was the biggest risk that ever happened in this world, and we became different managers of ourselves post COVID. But it also taught us something else, which is to deal with ambiguity and but we didn't know what to expect. So if you don't know what to expect, what are you solving for? So working in what I call ambiguity is a key skill you will get as a part of your day-to-day life. And diversity, these are three elements in my mind are going to be extremely important skills for each one of you. The last part, which is, like I said, is corporate etiquette. I think it's probably very, what I feel is, is not talked about so much, but it's very, very important. By the way, we do keep hiring close to 350, management graduates every year on campus to multiple universities and colleges across the country. And when I do sessions, when they come for their first day induction program, etc., the first thing has hybrid work for 2 days a week, at least in some of our larger offices. Not all the brands, of course, but in our larger offices, we still have hybrid work. But I actually encourage them, please come to work every day. Because this is the time when you get a feel of what corporate life is all about. Student life versus corporate life, huge difference. You will get a feel of what happens. When you go to the cafeteria with two people, you will realize what's happening on the ground. Very different in terms of behavior, humility, respect, the way somebody is responding, the way, when you're doing it with friends versus when you're doing it in corporate life, very different. So corporate behavior, as I call it, I don't want to call it yes or no or good or bad. Just corporate etiquette is something which all of you, I strongly encourage. Some of you, I'm sure, are going in internships for 2 months. It's always nice to pick a spot which is closest to home, have home food, be in an environment which is cozy. My suggestion: go out in the dirty world. That's going to be your biggest learning. A lot of people in action time, for example, come to Bombay, and like it or not, it is in June and July. It is the peak season for monsoon. But that's what life is all about. It is not about sunshine and in April and May. Going to work, catching that local, coming to work every day is part of that corporate sense of belonging that you will get, and that's what corporate etiquette is all about. But I just wanted to kind of give you a perspective in terms of slightly different, like I said, risk, skill set for this, and personal skill set. Let me just stop there. Thank you. Again, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Amit for this insightful and inspiring remarks. It has been a privilege to hear about your journey and the valuable lessons that you have shared. For the next phase of our session, which is the panel discussion, Professor of Information Systems at the Xavier Institute of Management, Exeter University, Bhubaneswar. He holds a PhD from the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, and is a business graduate of the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. Before transitioning to academia at XIM and IIT, he built his industry career. Where he further honed his expertise. He has authored several research papers in reputed international journals and serves on the advisory boards of Mathsport India Asia and JBMS at XISS. I will now request Bhaskar sir to take over the session for the panel discussion.
Yeah. Okay, good afternoon to you all, and thank you to all our guests and the speakers who set the tone. And it's a very difficult session, I must say, just post lunch. Okay, to keep them. Involve the speakers also in some kind of dialogue. And like Mr. Subhankar said that, I'll be speaking on the heart, okay, whatever is there, and representing the students. And so it is not a scripted, thing. So let me, put it that way. So the overall theme of this talk or this summit was perspective, but basically we all agreed on some points. And obviously, the technology is an important part, and but we must also not lose sight of the human touch, which is important. And I actually formed one acronym called BITS, BITS, because that is something which will affect you all. So that T part is the technology, but I feel technology in isolation means nothing to the business until and unless you are able to leverage that in business to kind of achieve your aims. Along with that, you have in mind, just when we are even doing forecasting, we are now looking at the definition of horizons have changed. Okay, so what was long, my father worked for 30 years in a single company. Okay, PSC. So that has changed now. I'll be happy if somebody would be working for me for 8 to 10 years. I mean, 5 years is good enough. That is the expectation. Okay, the way things are. So I will be looking at for each taking this, kind of this bits phenomenon. So 5 years or 10 years down the line, the possibilities. Okay, what you see. I think we can start from. Okay.
No, no, no. So, let me, first of all, very good question, sir. I think, let me put it in two parts. One is, in the banking sector, what has changed in the last, let's say, 5 years, and what is likely to change in the next 5 years. So 3 years ago, for example, or 4 years ago, fintechs didn't exist, right? And all of them thought that, you don't know what they will do, they are mavericks, unregulated, we don't know the way, and I'm talking of fintechs in a very loose terminology, there's a lot larger. But there is no doubting the fact that they taught banks like us a lesson. Use of technology, very different. But fintechs actually benefited from it. Was my same access, or let's say my competitor bank customers who were going on these platforms. So it was not that they were going for a different reason. We had the same products. There's no product which probably any of our competition banks today don't have in the market, but they were still preferring fintechs because interface, the content of it was very different, innovative to a core, and most importantly, user friendly. And which is why banks like us had to adapt. So, in the last 3 years, for example, we had no choice but to adapt. Now, if I kind of fast forward to the next 5 years, the same is going to happen again, which is to say that if AI and ML is here to stay, deepfake is here to stay. I mean, I know I keep putting on my risk hat most times. People here keep talking of AI and ML in a very positive way, but I keep thinking, what is the misuse of AI? What is the misuse of ML? How bad can it get? You've already had instances where CFOs have approved or disbursed money based on that approval is all fake because the deepfake ensured that the voice was the same, the face was the same, everything was perfect. So my worry is, and more importantly, the opportunities in that sense is there is going to be a huge influx of new technologies. There's a huge amount of use cases. there will be enough and more misuse, there will be enough and more, rogue elements which will take advantage of that, and that's what we should be prepared for. So, if I kind of put it in a nutshell, bits for good and bits for bad. I think the bits for bad is something that we as a society are not investing in enough. We're investing a lot on AI ML good use cases, which is good. We need to have equal amount of investments in how misuse can be prevented. Let me just stop.
20 years back when we started IT projects, those used to be 3 to 5 years duration. One-time project, you are set European. So European project is the kind of project we are seeing every country in Europe. Okay. And then the things move into client server architecture, you deploy server, project timelines reduce little. Then came cloud. You could say project will be done in 6 months, 8 months. Now the era of AI, we're expecting that one of the user cases requirement the AI will be the initial modeling. We're looking at cases where the project will cut down into weeks. The project timeline from years becomes to month. From month, we're talking about project timelines in weeks. So the project will be about in 8 weeks. That a lot of this work which is happening was earlier typically focused on one particular geography. This product is being built for UK. This product is being built for this. Now the business are becoming more global. Your users are across the globe. So everything is becoming more global in nature. So ability to analyze and say, okay, when I'm building this solution, it will fail in Italy, it will fail in what in a global environment. Every the way people deal with the same product is a little bit different. The way Middle East looks at a product is very different from the way Europe looks at it. So understanding of that human nature will come into play. High context society, low context society. I'm not sure whether we have that paper now. Europe, US is low context. You can send an email and expect to get an approval. Middle East, India, Africa is high context. Send an email and then you will call him and say, sir, I send you an email. Right? The other two things will change. You have to be a little bit more understanding of the global environment, and second, you will expect the speed of change will be much faster. This is society where the main objective is improve the top line and improve the bottom line. So top line and with innovations and technologies, there will be a massive adoption of AI technology because now with AI you can do much things in a much quicker way. You can write code. Augmented as a human plus technology will be working in tandem. New jobs will be created. For example, influencer was not there when I passed out. Now apparently this is one of the good job offers we have currently. So you never know. So tomorrow there will be jobs like AI trainer, AI, for example, cyber is a thing. For example, you have a software to filter resumes and suddenly resumes of certain race, caste grade is selected more because of the training data. So there will be a lot of focus on data. There will be a lot of focus on quality of data because still AI is a system where what you put in once what you get, how you train the system. So it's a lot of reinforcement learning will be there. So roles like a sort of a trainer, AI trainer, or maintaining the cyber security so that we maintain the ethics, no mishap happens. AI police can be one. You have seen the movie Minority Report, similar to that. So I would rather say that watch some feature movies, James Cameron and all, you'll get an idea of what Matrix is a Bible. You should see that. So that's the thing. Thank you.
Okay, you can keep the mic because my next series of questions will be, probably are being directed to the tech part and the risk part separately. So like you have talked about the evolution of AI and also perhaps the generative AI. Okay. Now my worry is that okay, I can see it like I see it from my that Gen AI or ChatGPT is of use for me. Definitely, one thing we are in agreement that it kind of increases the productivity or efficiency. So, what task which can be done in maybe 3 hours can be done in half an hour. Okay, whether it is PowerPoint or whether it is setting up the lecturing, etc. But one thing which actually also worries me is there is always a trade-off between the quantity and quality. Okay. So, for example, I will know which students have actually written on their own for some, kind of some and what they have copied from chat or such kind of generative. So, what I am very much keen on is, if you could just harp on what organizations are doing, okay, so that this AI can be a big nuisance for us. Okay, so I will come to it later on, but from the perspective of responsible AI, can you specify certain things with your company, which you are doing?
So maybe I'll break this question into two parts. The first one you talked about AI in academics. That's one of my key area of research. 50s, American universities started using calculators for the mathematical. Okay, people are now earlier there used to be logbooks, but after that calculator came in. Because the mathematics moved on, because people were earlier much more mathematical knowledge and all. But nothing that sort of thing happened. Is a sort of a people are still trying out what it actually creates a very level playing field. Maybe allow, that's what I was saying, augmented academics where the parameters which we use to judge student might change. Because now the student is coming with an AI, which actually acts as its own another brain. So incidentally, if I can suggest, there is will happen. How can the education system change? Because we cannot open the new law with the old key. The things have changed. The academics has to change. I don't have an answer right now, but SAP has three RRR. This is not the Rajmouli's movie. It's something like responsible, reliable, and the third one is forgetting the third one. You can just Google it. What are the three? And even if you look at it, OpenAI, they have instead of RRR, they have 3H, honest and solvent. So people are taking account. There has been AI ethics committee which has been set. So there are some AI committee which has been set, which is Europe based, America based now. The latest discussion in the AI field is one ethics paper which is AI. So what it is doing? people are now scared. Now with these rules and regulation, people might move out of California and go to other states like Texas. Already X, that is Elon Musk company, has moved out of it. So it has to be handled in a very delicate way. There is no right and wrong here. For every AI advancement, government interference is required. Certainly, all the companies played out. India has to come up with notification. No, no, no. We are taking back that. So it has to be handled in a very political level, which actually benefits all. Because at one time, it's just like it's something like you just like the Ramlal of Sholay. Okay. If you give it more power, it can become the Shah Rukh Khan of Bazigar. Okay, it can actually sign your, you have seen this movie Bazigar and Sholay. It can actually overtake your. So you have to draw that demarcated line, responsible AI, train it well, use good data so that biases are not there, and as an advent follower of AI, I actually do listen to them and I do often write about it over on the media. Thank you.
Very interesting question. So, all of you are having an SAP course here, right? How many of you have taken that SAP course?
First year,
First year, okay.
so it vaccines a big year.
Why can't I build a single screen where I have a conversation with the ERP, asking it what I wanted to do and it can do. Then it create a customer, check this item on hand, how much is that, make a shipment, ship the order. So my team built it. We kept in the last step, you have to go and click OK. That's why in the last step has to be manually, because I need to capture that the human person has approved it. The AI cannot do the entire transaction on its own. Right? So, probably a couple of years down the line, this may not have even our ERP systems may completely change the voice based. On a WhatsApp, the way you have no one needed a WhatsApp training or a Facebook training, you will not need any ERP training because your AI will guide you through it. You can have just a conversation with it in normal English, asking it to do what you want it to do. That brings a question: what when the AI becomes independent? What if it starts as a state and it's pretty easy to build checks and balances? But how AI works is take a piece of ChatGPT, you plug it into your own. ChatGPT finds other tools that sit on your phone, and they're interlinked. If one person's corporates are doing, they're starting some training. While we don't need a training to use ChatGPT, corporates are mostly using Microsoft Copilot and they're giving training on it. What are the keywords you use to ensure that the search is restricted to your corporate resources and doesn't go into the general internet? Within the general internet, a lot of things can be found which may or may not be accurate. Anyone can create a website, dump a lot of data, and change the way your AI or search will give it. So those kind of things have started, but to be honest, it's still at a very early stage. The way the AI moved in less than 2 years, it has moved from being a figment of imagination to be something which you are actually using on a day-to-day operation in your offices. Microsoft Copilot is used to do your meeting summarization. You have the meeting in Microsoft Teams, at the end of the meeting, process. You won't believe the ones which you never realize. For example, warning. Again, if you want to do a model shootout, models will fly in from Bombay, do your shootouts and go back. And if per cost, like if you pay a couple of lakhs, the models come back for the same. Now your AI is generating those images. You just align with this backdrop, with this dressing, it will generate those images. Instead of hiring 5 models paying for 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, you can have one AI developer pay one for that price and get unlimited. Similarly, you have content generation teams. If you write your posts, ChatGPT has made it that those teams have come down by 1/10. Right? You don't need 20 people to sit and write posts. If he gives it to you, you need just one manual editor to tweak it a little bit at the end. So, a lot of such unrelated items. Yes, it can start creating content. You can use it for making a project work. But if all of you use the same ChatGPT, sir will be actually see 90 papers looking identical the same.
No, because we have to also, be one step ahead of it. We have to also innovate. So the best, and with this scale, this size, everything. So that will do the job for you. So you have to submit it that link is too permitted. And it will give, the color code about we have some, kind of, this is the similarity that I can, accept. Okay. And, but the only thing is that you can have similarity index is different than AI index. Okay. So what I meant, Shankar, was that the policy, most of the university or organizations are not against, AI because we have to accept this now. From outside, which means, that this part is AI-enabled, at least for them. But let me tell you, there is another part where we deal it. It's mostly affecting the faculty who are doing research. That is top research journals by no way accept, papers which are AI now. Okay, right. So there are two aspects in teaching. I find it very, very convenient for me if I use and create my own content, summarizing, at least, in terms of research part, you get it to obviously, summarize it better, but, okay. Sure, go ahead.
It's a changing. Professor Ekman Malik mentioned that there are some universities in America who are actually changing the pedagogy of how to approach in this new scheme of things. It's a tough one. We don't have 2 years not to
Like I said, Mr. Amit, my concern is, he said a very important part is coming from the banking and financial sector, which is highly regulated. Okay. Now, my question to him is going, again, like 5 years down the line, etc. He talked about the, UPIs and the other, the ecosystem, as we call it. Okay. And I envisage really some, really difficult times ahead, okay, for you all. In fact, I also, the way I get some, calls nowadays, here and there, I don't even pick it up on unsolicited, okay. Because as you said, there are people who might be, calling you very innocently for something, but they might be recording your voice. Sections which is really affected by this senior citizens, who are there. Okay. Now, on one hand, it's very easy to say that don't use, this credit card, don't use it. That's a segment we are missing altogether. Okay. So therefore, is there some strategy? Because sometimes, it is changing, digital pattern. As I said, yes is also an important, part of that. How does the society, kind of mature? So that I'm not too worried about, the younger generation, this generation. I started that I think twice before, choosing my pattern, or maybe, my uncle. So that citizen, that part also might be having some disposable income. Bring them into the ecosystem. Is there some thought behind it?
So first of all, very, very good question. I think, you'll be surprised to note that, the number of frauds which happen to senior citizens is almost identical to the frauds which happens to age group 21 to 25. lack of awareness sometimes, inability to even get onto the platform, etc. The other extreme is because of excessive usage, excessive data available at multiple sources and information, and at the drop of a hat, using technology, for quick fixes. And I mean it in a very nice and positive way. Please, don't take offense. In a very very quick means. So what happens is, because of that, it is also ammunition for somebody who is looking at it to take over your mobile, to take over your internet, and do transactions on your not is as susceptible as the senior citizens, as you rightly said. Specific to your question, sir, on senior citizens, there are two things here now. Earlier, you had a situation where anybody who was, let's say, between 60 and 70 would not be tech savvy. Also a lot of tech savviness which they built up over the years. Now, where you have a problem is when the phone calls come in and they threaten to say that your electricity will get cut off for the next 3 days if you don't click on this link, UPI payments, you give us 1 rupee, I will give you whatever. Those are the ones which we've seen the maximum number of frauds. Now, what do we banks do? Obviously, we have technology to kind of look at it. So, one, most importantly, for anybody who's banking with, let's say, at least I'm talking for instrument we don't allow. So we have technology we've invested in, which also tells us which device you're using from. There is device binding that happens from transactions. So any unusual transactions or what we call unusual chatter gets reported, and there is a team which actually looks at the back end. That's one. Second, my friends have talked about AI/ML in terms of use cases. There is a huge use case for transaction monitoring. So it is very important for us to look at your pattern behavior of transactions. If somebody has never ever done an e-com transaction and suddenly ends up doing an e-com transaction, that's a red flag. If somebody has never used net banking and suddenly starts using net banking, that's a red flag. I recharge on your phone every week, that's a recharge, that's a red flag. So the way we've done it is, in the banking system, I can talk for our bank, for example, we have close to 150 different scenarios that we built, which kind of puts together AI ML usage there very, very extensively, and this is good AI ML usage, which actually throws up alerts. Sometimes the downside to that is it can also lead to a lot of false positives. A lot of false alerts happen. And you can have customer inconvenience, right? You can get a lot of calls saying that, sir, can you do this call transaction, etc. So there is a downside to it, but from a use case point of view, that's what we do. Third, we do reach out programs for senior citizens. So we've got now, we've tied up with a lot of NGOs through our Access Foundation, where we actually do, banking awareness programs only around, use of mobile and internet, and being careful with digital transactions kind of training programs. That's SMSs or emails to say, we will never ask you for your CVV, we will never ask you for your OTP, etc. That's the only thing that we can really do. But having said that, at the back end, we do invest in technology. And just to give you an example, those rules that I talked about, they undergo change every month. So it's not that, I put a rule, I'll wait for another. Fraudsters are one step ahead of bankers sometimes. So we need to keep, looking at those rules to say what could kind of throw up as a part of, alert. So from a banking standpoint, while it's a huge use case in terms of the way things are changing, but from senior citizens' point of view at the back end, we do try and one, educate, two, do monitoring, which is a lot more closer, and three, we do reach out
So, my next question to you all is something, a topic which is of lot of relevance and put eye on it. That is the future of work. Okay. So, like here, as somebody said, yeah, from Mr.Rajen, that this pandemic period taught us a lot. Okay. And I remember during the pandemic, it stuck, I think, March. At that time, there were a lot of students who were going in for their SIP, summer internship programs, which were lined up. Now, what happened turned out was there were some of these organizations, like for example, TCS comes to my mind, who went ahead with whatever was planned. But the sister company Tata Steel, they deferred saying that wait, okay, you need not come. Okay, we will, instruct you when you will come. So I thought that that was an important period in which we also were actually looking at the way things were, and we had to also devise something so that best. So our new session starts at around June. So we got that preparation time. Okay. Now I thought it was a great time to get some feedback from the students post their internship on their experience. So there were, and I mean, just to share the findings, it would be interesting. So there were those kind of companies, specifically manufacturing organizations like Tata Steel, where the work was mostly floor-based. So when they came back, or automobile companies, they were not really satisfied with their internship. But because they were already doing it, so they knew that way. Okay. So that experience, in this case, differed a lot. And then we experienced, teaching online. Okay. And I can say that I mean, I'm glad that we came back to normalcy because I like to have that kind of interaction with the students. Like anybody can ask anytime, and there are a lot of things I also normally So we had to do it at that time. Most of the companies had to do it because that was a substitute session we take virtually. So no need to come. You can actually also take it virtually. In fact, some of the sessions we also do a hybrid mode. But given a choice, I would always, like to interact with this. So coming back here, I think we have also our own opinions. Okay. So a little bit touching on this, so what to expect the future of work, how to be, and we have also looked at a lot of issues. Something which comes into my mind is moonlighting, which came. Okay. So there are some companies, I remember that they called back, they were calling back, and people were not willing to come back. Okay. Your own companies, starting with SAP and then Grant Hotel and then Devices.
So, as a nature, the concept of team is very much changing right now. So, what we see is small teams coming together, achieving a purpose. This person, again, in case they can come together again, it's good, but it's working with a different set of team members over and about. It's all about we have taken a course in strategy. It's about the food again disintegrating. Something like it was not highlighted, but SAP takes good, sort of it's about that depression, working alone at a place that became a big thing in our organization, especially people who are used to seeing people in an office now being asked to stay at home, do household chores. So things changed. People, it was not that hunky dory. I can say, okay, you're sitting at your home and doing your job. Absolutely not. There were people. I enjoyed going and mixing up with people, but there can be somebody who enjoys staying alone. So we have to identify our own solution for everything. It depends on the type of work.
So there is flexibility in SAP.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right now we have 3 to 2, that is three days you are expected to come. I have a couple of my team members in Bangalore. They spend 4 hours in coming and going. Within Bangalore, I'm talking about. That's how busy Bangalore is. So I told them that please do not. That's the guideline. In case something happens, I'll take care of it. But it actually gives that amount of leverage where
Gene is out of the bottle, putting it back in is difficult. But yes, it will be put back in. So sometime in future, everything will go back to the way it was pre-COVID. Understanding that okay, as long as on the average you are coming, so if in 6 months time frame, 4 months you are meeting it, it's fine. It's not that, and we are pretty flexible about it on the hybrid work model. The only challenge in hybrid work model, you guys, once you join a corporate, the initial 6 months in a corporate, after you can work independently, work from remotely, no problem. If you're coming to office and your coaches and members are not there in office, doesn't solve the purpose, right? So yes, from that perspective, we have all workers are basically starting back. But we go back to the way it was earlier, where Thursday, Friday, don't have 9 hours a day. Pre-COVID, 9 hours a day, but only every those 6 hours half a day. So those kind of things are unlikely to come back. But people who work from home, slowly is reducing more on the hybrid model. Sometimes you need to meet your team member. How many of you have seen that 5-star app of AI work of future? None of you have seen it. Yeah, you can share it in your WhatsApp group. So what is the 2-3 items? I can't tell you what it can do. So what it cannot do is your capacity, building of your team culture and innovation, getting new ideas. Okay. For getting new ideas, you need to sit idle. In your home, in the house, sit idle. You are three years to open edit or do some homework. So I need you to sit idle for some time so you brainstorm some of the new ideas. Okay. So yes, hybrid model will be there for a long time to come. There will be a push that people should come to office for some time. But the flexibility which is coming during COVID, unlikely to go back. The 9 hours a day or 40 hours a week, you must be serving on that will not be there. So the company will be tracking attendance and not the number of hours you're spending inside.
batch here that please spend time in office.
just to kind of clarify, the branches are open all the time. There are people all the time there. But it is the central functions where we do have a hybrid. We do allow 2 days a week to come into office. You're absolutely right. Some of the more important why stop it just for the sake of it? So that's what we really did. So two things there. So we implemented two elements there. So one was the hybrid working. So we do have a concept of people being at home for 3 days a week and working from home. Of the bank staff which actually work from their hometowns or gig, all India, of course. So there is that concept which is available. Just to give you an example, you may think risk management is a very on the job. And this is for as complex jobs as market risk, risk analytics, liquidity risk, regulatory reporting, for example. What we've done, of course, and this is now putting on the other hat that I have, is to ensure that cyber risk is taken care of. In a sense, secured. But with that flexibility, you still have the ability for people to work from home, and we haven't seen productivity drop. But having said that, there is a school of thought which says that maybe the more you come to office, the more the sense of belonging, the more of the hybrid, which worked quite nicely, and why not take advantage of the week? So we've kind of probably one of the few banks which still for non-branch functions, we do have a hybrid and a gig working culture in the organization. Using sensitive information, so there are a few roles. Rather than paint everything in one brush, is there a way where we can use COVID learnings? And that's what we really done. Okay, so I'll be doing a great disservice to the audience if I don't really take up a couple of questions on their careers or their career path as it is. So now my simple question to each of you is, like if they would be, eager to be a that you can provide. This is for each of one of you.
So SAP, we are 100,000 employees, so in India, 1 lakh employees. We have basically all the jobs, all the roles that you have. So just be focused. In case you want to do HR, just focus on HR. Okay, you want to be the whole HR or HR SAP implementation. So get your clarity. First year, the clarity won't be there. But always go with your passion. What do you like? Not with okay, where do I get more marks? So that's one of the things. Maybe go into the HR field more. You are a very process person, okay, you can go into supply chain and do more. And once you do that, the thing is, why don't you use ChatGPT for your take AI to see, okay, what are the skills I need you want to carry. What we can say is, to come inside SAP, what we see is there are some traits like, okay, skill is one of the things, but it's not that a great thing. The other things like are you able to work in a team? That's a big thing. Okay. How much do you respect other team members? Because you might be the best person in the world, but nobody works with you. I wouldn't take that person. Absolutely not. Because having that person would be a best headache I can. So what I would say is read through this trait. We look at that human aspect more rather than the skill aspect. And skill have the bare minimum and always be teachable, always learnable. So those are some of the things. In case you are in your second year and you are interested in any role, you want to apply, I'm there in LinkedIn, just give me the role. I'll make sure that I put in a good word for you. Provided your resume is good for that role, not that you have a generic resume and you want to apply for that. But prior to that, do a bit of self-reflection. All the business courses that you have, which one do you like? And the thing here is, it's not about getting a job in a company. Company is doing what you like the most. Okay, so company, all the rules are always there. Now, as I mentioned, mostly specific to two, three things as mentioned by Amit as well: sustainability, AI, and efficiency. These are the three key characteristics we look at, but that's secondary. You have to be a good human being.
You first you get a flavor of everything. You're having some courses in finance, some courses in marketing, some courses in HR, everything. Then you think, okay, I like A or B, and then you do your internship in that, and then you reassess. One good thing in XIM is that you can change. In your second year, you are deciding what you want to do, and even then, it's your depending on the credit. So you can get on your fourth semester, you start maybe on finance, or fifth semester, you move into something else. When I was here, I was thinking I'm good in finance. That myth was destructive when I did my internship. I realized, okay, I'm not that good in finance. So in fourth, fifth semester, I took a lot more of marketing courses and IT courses. Unfortunately, when I joined the corporate, I was some things is in your control, something is not in your control. Right? When you join the company, when you're joining as an intern for a specific role, and your training starts, right? It is not very hard and fast. Like I said, in 10 days time I can train you on a tech. What I can't train is what I'm hiring you for. I can't train you on your attitude. I can't train you on your communication skills. If you don't talk to me, I'm not going to hire you. And more importantly, I want you to showcase that I can train you in 10 days. That's why we see the grade. It's not that that particular paper is very important to me. But the grade show me that you could be trained. I can train you here in just 10 days time. Okay. When your internship program starts after the first few weeks of training, you will put on the job training where you will follow a coach. And at that time, your coach will be visible. You have this, unlike the professors here who are trying to train you, teaching you. Your coaches will not be. They have their own job. This is an additional item for them. You will extract the knowledge from them. That ability, that you have that energy, the zeal to extract what you will.
With Axis Bank, we do keep hiring, like I mentioned in my
earlier address that we hire anywhere between 350 to 400 employees from the business schools every year. Also, it's using that, right? Because, like I said, we do hire in IT and tech as well and analytics. What we do is also look at some kind of a training program initially. So first of all, it's a banking sector, so there's no other sector that I can offer. We do have good companies, which are into mutual funds, securities, capital, trustees, and finance. But as a part of the group is what we end up hiring. Typically, if you look at it, there are multiple roles in the banking world, right? So if you're a marketing or a business graduate who has a marketing bent of mind, there are obviously sales roles, business roles, coverage roles, as we call them. There is a whole new element around digital that we are doing. And when I say we, I kind of mean typically the banking world. The top three, four banks would typically have similar. That we look at. So what we typically end up doing is hire people from the campuses. Some of them go through either a 1 month training across functions or 3 months sometimes. Some batches from that we pick up and look at a 1 year training where we kind of put them into multiple pieces, of different areas of banking, and then kind of give them a final posting, as we call them, or assignments. My advice to you would be that, don't get perturbed with the first job that you get or the first role that you get. I'm sure my fellow panelists will agree with me, or anybody in the corporate life will tell you that's not the first or the end of the world. You go back 20 years from there and decide, that I want to change my role. 5 years from now, I want to change my role. It's perfectly okay. But the first 2, 3 years of your career, try and focus on the brand that you work for. I think it's important, and the role that you get. Do keep in mind that within large organizations, especially let's say organizations like ours, there is enough and more flexibility which is available. So I may have got hired, I'm giving an example for analytics, but that's not my when I have a career in banking, I can happily shift to marketers or liquidity risk or become an investment banker. Or the other way around, which is that okay, if I'm not able to get my job in investment banking, doesn't mean the end of the world. There is enough and more opportunity. So don't lose heart in terms of either placements in the first 2 months or 3 months, or once you join, that I didn't get the role of my choice or I didn't get the location of my choice. Over a 5 year time span, I can assure you, having been in corporate life long enough to tell you that there are enough and more opportunities which will come your way. It's the way you grab them, it's the way you kind of capitalize on them. But it's very important that you show those skills told you about are going to be very critical in my mind, irrespective of where you take up assignments. So for career in banking, like I said, you do have to keep in mind as well in terms of those boundaries. So there's innovation, but up to a point. Like I said, there are careers in banking. Not that I'm reselling IT or whatever, but to a large extent, the GDP runs on industries like banking, services, etc. And between tech and banking, you probably cover a large part of the workforce in the educated workforce in the country. So that's really what our Axis Bank's philosophy has been. And we've had people who've been with the organization for a long period of time. Through campuses, we've got a lot of alumni from here who are in senior leadership roles. And the growth path is, very, very fair and transparent. I think that's what you really need. And there are enough and more opportunities for you to shine. And as you're starting out your corporate journey. All the best. Thank you for your insights. So I think that we will also invite some questions directly from the students. But before that, I think just one, if I may, out of inquisitiveness, which is directed at you, like this partnership with Flipkart, when you are doing this co-branding, I mean, when you are actually also having a co-branded Flipkart, Axis Bank, credit card or debit card, whatever. So can you just, tell us, the audience, what kind of could be one, but some interesting, at least I want that how does this partnership, as it, kind of, it should be a win-win for both. Okay, so how has it, impacted Axis Bank with this partnership? How has it, some interesting, anecdotal, interesting insights.
So to start with, we get 10% discount on anything we purchase. On a more serious note, I think the way I look at it, so let me just step back a little, right? And I talked about it very briefly that invariably organizations today look for lack of better words, new customers and data, right? My partnerships today, whether I'm as a bank or any corporate or data or customers. And that's really the core of any partnership that you deal with. It could be for customers, it could be for a service. Now, in this case, because we're talking customers, Flipkart, for example, has close to, if I recollect, on last count, 20 crore customers in the country. You could say usage is low in some of them, some have never used it for a long period of time, but that's a very large number. We have close to about 5 crore banking customers at Axis Bank. Now, if with consent, just so that I'm clear, I'm putting on this hat all the time, with consent, if a customer can be given a wide variety argue that all the 5 crore customers would probably have maybe 5, 10, 15% would be common customers, etc. But it opens up a huge marketing opportunity for me in terms of acquiring those customers. I talked about models. It is also to kind of look at what kind of customers are coming. And by the way, just to kind of reinforce, it is always through consent that the customer is interested, and that's why it's coming into access. So that's one. Second, we are also dealing with a lot of their suppliers and customers. All of them today have banking needs. All of them today have needs to fund and finance. So for us, it's not just a part. It means the customer is keeping money. Always remember, for me, as bankers, we thrive on the fact that there are balances in the account. I need that for liquidity to let out to start with. Overall banking. So to that extent, for me, it's a partnership around acquiring customers. It's a partnership around expanding my customer base through product suite, which Flipkart today. Fourth is balances through this whole ecosystem of distributors, channels that Flipkart has, which today then suddenly, we get an opportunity to kind of happen. So it's a partnership, which is what I would call a win-win. Yes, there is a revenue angle to it. Yes, there is a cost to it. But in the balance, if it can get me a large set of customers which either do
and you mine this big data to look at models and correct them. And
so just to I think I mentioned it earlier is today, for example, every time you give a consent, it is a specific consent. So once somebody is given a consent, there will be an offer that will happen. Only when you provide consent, I will have that information of the data that you done on Flipkart, and only once I have that information.
information. There could be modules that can tell me that, here is a product that I can give to you, here is a loan that I can give, or a credit card that I can give, or any banking product that I can give, or even insurance for that matter. That's how we look at partnerships. This is just one angle of the partnerships. There are others as well. I mean, history of recharge, history of whether you're an Airtel Black customer, for example, your payment patterns, are you prepaid, postpaid, frequency, user sense. I mean, there's a whole host of, like I said, data thing.
Yeah, so that is where I was coming to. Now you mentioned about these players, third party. So you are actually adopting a platform with an ecosystem. You are creating a invite questions from the audience or students. So anyone, if you are keen to ask a question to the panelists, please raise your hand, introduce yourself, and you can direct the question to either one of them or to all three.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Pattanayak from the exam BEM batch of 2024-2026. So, actually, I have two questions, if I may. My first question is to Mr.Subhankar sir. In the latest edition of Tech Samvad, you talked about the commoditization of AI models. As professionals, we create differentiation so as to generate value for our organizations and clients using AI. So, commoditization of AI is a very good thing for every one of us. So, what it means is AI development electricity now can run a washing machine. Now it's your responsibility to build a world-class washing machine which can wash your clothes in a much better way. Now the good thing is all the companies are fighting amongst each other. What it used to cost hundreds of design just making it around when OpenAI first. Now it is being because there are other companies like Google Gemini which is reducing. So they are finding it what happened? India actually got the benefit of data, and now we are one of the largest economy to the data in terms of the cheapest available in the business benefit and grow our GDP through finance transaction. And actually it created multiple opportunities. I foresee that happening. Now think about it, a person having a chat GPT in a remote village. Now think about the power of education. Now the that data with the data AI now he can have like read from somebody might talk to him, explaining the concepts in a new way. Opportunities are limitless. And that's why I'm quite excited with these new opportunities, and that's why you guys how we create best now how are we create best application use cases. Thank you.
Okay, next. Kamala, I'll come back to you. Okay, let us take one at a time. But I'll come back if there are no other questions. I will follow. You have a hand this side. Yeah, one question.
Good evening, everyone. Anthony Tripathi from MBA batch of 20%. With a lot of data breaches and all the data stuff that is happening all around, which can be due to some kind of third-party third-party issues, whether it can be daily or so who should be held responsible? Should there be a proper framework where
Yes, should be that yes or no, but tell me that.
no, not yet. I am very responsible. Thank you, Jason. My job then. It's a good question, to be very honest. The way I see it is information security is a key there. Right? So there's no two ways about the fact that first person responsible is the information security team in the bank. You do have to keep in mind that it is not just one bank. You do have to keep in mind. The ecosystem is so equally connected that it can happen to any bank, and because we're all connected, it's a matter. Like for example, I think it was probably 2 months ago or something, NPCI had a breach. So forget banks, right? If NPCI has a breach, effectively all of our accounts are getting compromised. That is what I would look at as a serious breach. So having said that, the regulators are obviously very, very keen to figure out what is happening. So there are two parts to this. So three actually. So one is regulators like SEBI and regulators like RBI. There is reporting that needs to happen instantaneously. So there is a window of not more than these two, and then there is something which is under the ministry, where what they do is they have a unit called the Nationally Critical Infrastructure. So there are a whole host of what we would call nationally critically, companies. So it has stock exchanges for example, it has a few large hospitals which we would like to believe are, what are called nationally critical. Happens in a public domain. So there is a lot that happens in terms of containment to start with. So best practices are shared because see, this is not an individual bank issue. It is a systemic issue which you need to kind of protect. So that's something that has happened. To answer a specific question, if and when there is a breach, thankfully, hopefully not, then you have to go back to either IT or information security as to worldwide, saying worldwide, right? 16, I'm sure my friend will, concur with that. That's really a large number. And by the way, that internal doesn't mean only employees. It could also mean vendors. It could also mean third-party service providers who are for you with all the partnerships that you kind of deal with. So yes, information security and IT are first persons responsible, but it is a collective ecosystem which really ensures and protects the banks like us.
Yeah, I'll be back. There are a couple of things.
Good afternoon. My name is Nilesh. I'm from SLP FDAPM batch of 24-26. My question is to Mr. Amit. So, sir, in the past few years, we witnessed a rapid growth in credit, whereas the deposit growth seems to be lagging. So, my question is, how do banks tackle the liquidity risk and credit risk given an alarming increase in the credit and deposit gap in India?
So I have a very simple suggestion for that. With a raise of hands, please tell me how many of you have invested in equity? Slightly higher, be a little more confident that you invest in equity. And how many of you have fixed deposits? Not bad. I'm very happy. So what's happening is that today there are
probably first of all would not have been hands up because you are too busy paying fees and trying to find a job. But more importantly, increasingly equities are competing with deposits in the banking sector. So it is becoming increasingly difficult for us to really look at deposits and garnering deposits, and it's one of the biggest concerns that we have. So it's not easy. Let me just give you one example since we talked about senior citizens. Once upon a time, when somebody retired, anything after 60 was considered fixed deposit safe. So 90% would be in fixed deposits, 10% here and there something else. Today, the person who is between 60 and 70 is also 70-75% in equity, either through mutual funds or directly in equity. They are not fully into 100% into deposits. The person who is from 70 to 80 is probably 50-50 because they still feel, and right reasons, that mutual funds or equities are likely to beat inflation much more than deposits. Now that's the way you've not seen a bear market in the last 10 years. You've only seen a bull market. So unless somebody burns their fingers, you're not likely to kind of understand the importance of deposits. So this is like a crying call for deposits from a banker, but there is no doubt in the fact that I'm competing with something which is genuinely investing, getting returns, which is beating inflation. And I don't blame investors for choosing investments over deposits. Second thing, because of which in the last couple of years, last a year or so, you have level in the banking system. You are not getting large infrastructure spending from the government because of elections and all that. So the money system had to some extent dried up. Hopefully, if I look at it slightly differently, the regulator has also been a little conscious of what they would call excesses on the lending side, whether it is on unsecured lending, whether it is on lending to NBFCs, whether it is lending to power sector, whether it is lending to MFIs now, which is microfinance. So there is this feeling that it up because every small bank, every small finance company, every small fintech was happily lending and probably at rates which are very high. So there have been a lot of curbs which have come from the regulator, which has also kind of moderated that growth. So left hand side, I don't have enough deposits, so I'm desperately looking for deposits than a deposit does. And on the other side, excessive lending curbs have also been put in place on account of what at least the regulator, probably rightly so, feels there are excesses in the system. So the banking sector needs to moderate credit growth. So long answer, but simply put, not an easy job.
Okay, just a supplementary to this, normally, you always have some complaint with the regulators.
We don't.
Okay.
I haven't recorded.
Other way, looking at this scenario, normally the regulators are the ones who advise you, but how do you actually,
See, I think you have to, let's face it, we bankers always complain. But there is no doubt in the fact that the regulator has done a phenomenal job over the last 5 years in terms of keeping the economy stable and sustainable, right? And you had COVID, through COVID, from the external world. I think that's a tribute to how there is a good balancing act that has been kept in. Banks today are probably at their highest profitability levels across the system. You don't hear about NPA crisis. You don't hear about favoritism. You don't hear about ills that were there, let's say, 7 years or 8 years ago. And I think to a large extent, you have to give And for those who track the stock markets, at least the top four banks get tracked on, one is deposit growth, once upon a time was asset quality. When all asset quality became the same, it became NIMs, which is net interest margin. Now, net interest margin is not going to come from home loans. It is only going to come from credit cards or personal loans. So the moment they saw us moving towards higher NIM products, they put these curbs been acting at the right times to bring moderation. And I mean, if you just go publicly and Google the governor and his speeches or the regulator's speeches, invariably they talk about financial system resilience. They don't talk about X bank or Y bank. They don't want a banking system and the banking system is resilient, and that's why they do keep working on it. So we do get exposed multiple times. And we bear the brunt of it as bankers because there's sometimes we feel it's excess, but especially in the last 3 years.
But we can see that that is how the confidence also grows of this perspective. Okay, we move on to the next question.
My name is Himanshu. Dependent on fintech for our investments, and there's increasing geopolitical tensions with highly high-tech countries like China. So, how do you assess the risk in the same, and what additional steps do fintech firms carry out to have a balance between better tech accessibility and digital security?
I can start and then maybe my colleagues can answer because they are the tech experts here. There is no doubting the fact that fintechs have used tech to their advantage. They are nimble, they are smaller, they've used newer technologies. We are what we call an elephant to move, it takes time. They are a lot more nimble, they're a lot more agile, there's no doubting that fact. And I think they've used newer technologies to be, like I said, come with innovative products. The user experience, the customer segmentation, the modeling that they've used, analytics that they've used, has been, there's no doubting the fact that been, quite, taking it to the next level. And we bankers, like I said, we do keep learning from them. We've tied up with a lot of them. Like they say, if you can't beat them, join them. So we've done a lot of partnerships. We've done a lot of work. I think the key there. It's only now in the last 2 years or 3 years that they've got placed under regulation and they're feeling the heat already. KYC, one of the largest payment providers now suddenly disappeared. Why? Because of a simple thing called KYC, which for us is our bread and butter, right? Now those are basics, the way I see it. So if you can marry the two, fintech in place, then you have the right combination. And one of the pillars of that is security. Is ABC, then I will sell it out and make my money and get into another investment. If you have that mentality, it will never work. And that's what the regulators also worry about. To say that if there's a lot of private equity money which is flowing into some of these fintechs because in the anticipation that the valuations will increase, but the business model is not lending involved, then automatically the curves start becoming a lot more tougher. Your standards become tougher. Things for you to be we've seen large fintechs which have invested in tech, in security, and most importantly, trying to be resilient.
Hello, sir. This is M. Danish from SIMT MBA batch of 24-26. So we have participated in a lot of case forms and engaged in 80% problem. But so the major question that I have is that while justifying the feasibility of the use of AI, very inexperienced with the topic. So how do you guys justify or think about the feasibility of certain AI functionality in your organizations?
Before you go join their organization, you have to get a degree from.
Okay. So you're talking about how to justify AI.
The feasibility of AI when you're incorporating it in your organization. In a certain function or solving a problem.
Look, use that is lots and lots of large amount of articles written by New York Times and all. So use it as a thought leader. End of it, if AI is going to say what you are going to do, then why are you getting paid? The decision will lie with you. In case you feel okay, the risk of that decision is less, let AI do that. But end of it, when you are talking about strategy or any future course of action, well, you are getting money from the company to make the decision. What AI will enable you is, okay, are you missing on certain parameters? Are you missing on certain other things that you would have added? Okay, I am thinking of going this, what can we do like this? And he may not, he or she, sorry, I am giving a gender to AI, it can be he or she, but it will give you something, evaluate it. So I don't see any reason that the risk lies if you don't evaluate it. Then the risk lies because you are missing out on a lot of knowledge that resides in the internet. Thank you.
When your company just check which are the allowed AIs and not allowed AIs, most of the corporates have a list of approved AI tools you can use. For I give a specific example of Grandfather, we have Microsoft Copilot which is approved, and that has been tailored to serve our internal KM sites or internal SharePoint. Chat is not allowed. The chat will be searched the entire internet. So if I build a bot which goes and spams a whole website saying SAP is bad, and you put a query with SAP or will have identity because they have to use all the prompts which are allowed. So that is not allowed with that big of a chat.
You want some your question answered?
I guess my question was a little misunderstood.
Okay, I just continue. You said you mentioned the context of using AI or ChatGPT for those test computing. Okay. So what I would say that nobody is here saying that don't cannot or don't use that. What I am saying is the tendency of you all that whenever some problem is given, you just go to ChatGPT or this. So I am saying that are the skills. Okay, guys, that is the human skills that you make AI a slave of yours. Don't be the other way around. So my point is that think about it as a book, etc., and then you can always take that as a reference and see if you can build on it those things. So keep that in mind. So
the person who has more money, who knows
how to make the system better. For example, my job is a bid manager and we write responses for all the sales processes. Our bid managers are right the way. Just like whatever you ask, it will give you some answer or the other. But is it giving the right answer? For that, there are some basic skills required. One is prompt engineering. You have to know about it, okay. Then you know skills about that particular vertical. Am I asking the right question, right terms for the system to understand it in a better? Third is prompt engineering, okay. Am I asking in the right way or not? So a little bit of functional knowledge is required, rather a lot of it. So in future, a successful person will be a functional person plus his ability to use AI in his work. Thank you.
We will take two more. Okay. Because we have granted two more. Maybe one, if I can, if you can, one lady, because we had. If there is. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. You can go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. So I'm Kunal Vadia from the batch of 23-25. So earlier this year, RBI came out with a draft disclosure requirements regarding the climate-related financial risks. So I wanted to ask, like, how Axis Bank, like, came up to assess and more importantly quantify the climate-related financial risk for the bank, and
so we at Axis Bank obviously have done a lot of work there. To start with, we are probably one of the first banks in the country which has a dedicated independent board of committees. ESG committee consisting of independent directors of the board, which is only talking about ESG. In a sense, what are we talking about? This is basically saying that the ESG conversation is no longer a coffee table conversation, it is now a boardroom conversation. So in a sense, you're saying the tone is set from the top to say what is it that we are doing as an organization. So second is we do have sustainability lending practices. We had tied up with IFC Washington about, if I recollect, about 9 years ago, where we looked at lending practices and lending framework for sustainable lending. And we do adopt some of that into our lending. So when we do a loan to a corporate, for because we feel they're not ESG compliant. So there is lending practices there that we really do. So that's second. Third, on the disclosures that we talked about, anyway, as a part of BRSR of SEBI, it has become mandatory. So we are party to that. We get rated internationally as well on our sustainability standards. So that's the third. And fourth, most importantly, the most important point in terms of how do you quantify risk. That's where today India is slightly at a nascent stage, I would say. Two reasons for that. One, taxonomy itself is not clear. Your definition of ESG versus my definition of ESG is very different. So, for example, I used to be on a committee of two committees actually. One set up by the Ministry of Finance, which consisted of SEBI, RBI, etc. Taxonomy, reporting, and resilience. So we obviously a group of people from the banking sector. They were manufacturing. So there was the MD of Tata Chemicals who was part of the group. Tata Group, for example, which is part of the group. All of that, but it didn't see the light of the day for whatever reasons, right? So that's very important. Similarly, in SEBI, for example, there's a group which is looking at taxonomy. We've not been able to kind of make headway there as well. So I think taxonomy is one big element. So what is green for you? I don't know what is green. So even if you look at it, you started by saying it is draft guideline because RBI itself are struggling with will all banks be able to come on a level playing field with this taxonomy. Some of us who are a little ahead of the curve will be there, but you do have to keep in mind that when the RBI comes with a guideline, it is applicable to all banks, and they need to be as compliant as any other bank. So there is the question of taxonomy. The third last part of this one. So, every 3 months, 6 months, we have a cyclone. So, in a sense, effectively for me, this is likely to be the most prone area for all my lending portfolio. But do I charge a higher interest rate just because I'm getting a home loan in Orissa? The answer is no. Do I charge higher insurance? The answer is no. Do I make it mandatory that I will do? The answer is no. Do I say that I will not? But what I do is I quantify the risk. I can actually say that, okay, my home loan portfolio in Orissa is, let's say, for example, 23,000 crores, delinquency is X, nothing to do with the floods, etc. But I do that risk assessment. But I don't know what to do once I do that risk assessment. It is neither worse off than anywhere in the country, nor is it helping me by saying, because it is Orissa, I should be 1% higher interest rate. It doesn't work. It doesn't happen on the ground. Corporate right. I can happily say that I will not do thermal power. But between having electricity and saying I want to do thermal power, I would rather power till all becomes renewable. When all becomes renewable, I can happily say NTPC I will not lend you. This as we kind of address. So the first part, Axis Bank at the forefront of it. We've done a lot of initiatives around it, like I said. But there are these challenges in the second part of your question. Is quantifying risks is a challenge. I hope I answered your question.
Okay, we will have one more. Yeah.
My name is Shruti Parashar from SMB MBA BS batch of 2026. So, Mr. Subhankar sir said that always wear the curiosity cap and learn as much as you can. So, as we all know that encourages experimentation and learning from failure rather than punishment.
Absolutely, and I can say that SME, we actually have our own communities of practice where we come in and there are something like we celebrate it rather. So we go through round of table where in a month where it's a community called Digital Drive. I manage it, and it is across teams. People actually join that community once in every month, and even we also encourage alumni to also join. Where they have failed, we actually say thank you, okay, you do that. And in this agile world, earlier, just think about it, how things have changed. I'm just talking about the technology part because that's where my entire career has been. We were in a waterfall model, as he said that every project is to years. Okay, we cannot fail because we have, there is a single day where we are launching. Now, if you look at it, now we have slowly moved into agile. What is agile? We build something quickly, we are failing faster. So most of the organizations which are doing good, there might be some organizations which are still stuck to whatever model, but this agile way of working is slowly adopted. And that is also ensuring that there is much more tolerance towards failure, and that is also ensuring that we are learning from it and reworking on it. So that's where we are, and I understand that there are some sectors where, for example, software is one, cloud solution is one. Sector that we are in, and based on that, there are some things which you can do, some things which you can't do. It depends on the industry and the sector you are. I feel so lucky that the good thing about learning is the best. Success is a very valuable teacher. That's all I can say. Hope that answers.
Okay, thank you. I think so. Sorry, Somana. There were others also which I could take, but to all of you, maybe offline or off the stage, if you have them, they are here, so you can get it. You can take this or this mic. There is always a mercy law operating.
That was an exciting Q&A session. We thank. Now, I request the Business Excellence Summit team to felicitate our dignitaries. We also have a surprise for our speakers. Any parting comments that they might have for the audience?
of all, an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you to the entire SMB team for having us here. And between the three of us, and I sincerely appreciate and thank you for your hospitality and warmth. Look forward to coming here more often. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone. Thank you for inviting me here. It was great opportunity. Right from the airport area. Thank you for that. I'm looking forward to interact more with you in the evening.
And as a party worker, always remember the quote from Rocky. It actually helped me a lot in my career with a lot of ways. It's not how hard you hit, it's all about how hard you get hit and then have the courage to rise up.
So just to summarize their talk, I will summarize it with three words. Here, empathy, adaptability, resilience. Okay. Thank you.
We will also thank the other dignitaries. Services, Illuminatis, the Media and PR Cell, Excellence, the Photography Committee, other committees that made this event possible, and finally the students for making this an engaging and enriching experience. I request the audience to please remain seated while the dignitaries